Great to have all of you with us in the room today. Those of you who are already here, my name is Maxwell. I'm your host, and what a show we have for you today. Truly global, lots of people joining us, and we have, of course, two amazing people having a fireside chat. The founder of Reebok, Mr. Joe Foster, the legend, of course, who created that iconic brand, and also, of course, the founder of Sneakers for Good, Wayne Elsey, who's going to answer Joe's questions, and we're going to find out a lot more about his business. Just to let you know, the chat room is open. So please put in your LinkedIn so other people get to know who you are. And towards the end of the show, we will be maybe taking a few questions. And our gallery today will be with Christy. And Christy will find the questions that we can put in towards the end. We'll take as many as we can, probably maybe half a dozen maximum. 2 or 3 is more likely because of the time of the show. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this particular show is being recorded for future use, and you will be able to view it again later on once it's been edited. Should you be asked to come back with one of your questions, you will get a request from the gallery, almost certainly a Christy, to unmute yourself just before you are due to speak. But ladies and gentlemen, the main part of the show today, of course, is to welcome our guests. And first of all, I'd like to bring on to the stage Joe Foster, the founder of Reebok, a man who literally changed the way people danced. Okay, so Joe, welcome to the show.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Hello, Max. I'm fairly well today. It's nice, sunny here, so it's pretty good. Yes, I'm fine. Thank you.
Whenever I speak to you, Joe, you're somewhere different in the world. Where are you at the moment?
We're in Tenerife for a week's holiday, just to take the sun in, and then we're into London next week to a Reebok event.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much for that. Now, the thing is, Joe, we've got this amazing man. I know that you've met him before, and his name, of course, is Wayne Elsey. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we bring on our keynote today for a fireside chat with Joe, Mr. Wayne Elsey. Wayne, welcome to the show, sir.
Max. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Pleasure to be here, Joe. Great to see you again, and really excited to get into the discussion today that we're going to have.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, a few people still joining. So just to let you know, as people join in, that's fine if you do hear any pings and dings, but your microphones are muted until we ask you to unmute. So Joe, let's take the first question on the agenda and find out a little bit about the early days.
Okay, Wayne, I've been very lucky to have my story building the Reebok brand all over the world. I had a solid foundations, but you had a moment that shaped who you would have become at a very young age. Please tell us about that and why it changed your life. And then tell us your founder's story.
Well, thank you, Joe. And before I talk about me, I just want to tell you that you are the man. You are a legend. I have looked up to you for many years, and I'm super honored to be sharing this time with you. And we'll be sharing later on some other stuff we're going to be doing in the future. But keep going, man. At 91, you are a rock star. So let me tell you about my story. When I was 17 years old, I was really struggling. I had a very tough upbringing, and quite honestly, I had some mom issues. I had a great relationship with my father, but I just had some mom issues, and it just was really tough for me. And one day, all this stuff just started compounding and really getting bad for me, and I considered taking my life. And I had all planned out. I had stopped by the store. I got a dryer vent hose. I got the clamp to put on the dryer vent hose. And that day after school, I was literally planning on committing suicide. I went into school that morning in my homeroom class, and my teacher's name is Mrs. Bush. And Mrs. Bush looked at me and she goes, "Listen, boy," she put her finger in my face. "I don't know what's wrong with you, but something's going on." And she goes, "I want to tell you 3 things. Number 1, you matter. Number 2, you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. And number 3, don't let the world get you down." And those words resonated with me today. I literally, on the way home, I returned the dryer vent hose. I returned the clamp. And I said, "You know what, Wayne, you got this." If you look at my office, if you look at our tractor trailers, if you look at my email signature, you'll see on the bottom, "You matter." Over Christmas, Mrs. Bush, who's still alive, came down to visit me, and she walked around the office and she wrote notes on probably 50% of my team's desk, handwritten with her shaking hand at 87 years old. And at the end, she put hashtag you matter. And it really impacted my team's life, just like it impacted my life back then. She saved my life. So, Joe, that would be my first founder story. My second founder story is at a young age, I really found interest in the shoe business. I've done nothing else in the world other than sell shoes or marketing products, if you will, all related to footwear. I started off as a stock boy in a little shoe store in Fredericksburg, Virginia. I worked my way up and went to work for StrideRite, which is where I first got associated with Reebok, and was vice president of StrideRite for many years, and then left there and kind of went into other occupations in the footwear business, running companies, heading up business development. And then towards the end of 2006, I was CEO of a company called Kodiak Terror USA. And that's when my life really changed another drastic way, just like it did with Mrs. Bush. I was sitting on the couch on December 26th watching the news, and I saw this major news story of a tsunami hitting Southeast Asia. And the amazing thing was, me being in the shoe business, and most people would notice this, when the tide went out, I saw this single shoe laying on the shore. And I'm telling you, Joe, it burned an image in my mind that I didn't sleep that night. I was restless. I was like, Wayne, you got to do something about this. I woke up the next day and I said, Wayne, you got to do something about this. Get some coffee. Let's do something about this. And I started calling people. And I said, hey, guys, you saw what happened yesterday. Can you help me out? And literally within 30 to 45 days later, we had 250,000 pairs of shoes sent to our warehouse in Nashville, Tennessee, designated to go to Southeast Asia. So we did that. We shipped the product over there. We got all kinds of donations. And I'm like, wow, this is great. Great job. And I got to meet Petra Nikovi at the time, whose boyfriend got killed in the storm. And her and I did some TV interviews and stuff about that. And basically, I just went back to work. I thought nothing else about it. So several years later, Katrina happened. And I said, Wayne, I have these conversations with myself, as you can tell. I'm like, Wayne, if you could do this for people on the other side of the world, what can you do for people right here in America? So I started a website called katrinashoes.org, and I started collecting shoes. And literally within months, we had over 1 million pairs of shoes designated to go to the people that got affected by Katrina. I actually got the key to New Orleans at the time. I was actually recognized by the mayor. But those things didn't matter. The biggest thing that mattered to me is I was able to give people a handout and help them out, meaning they lost everything. This storm didn't discriminate against people that lived in trailer parks or in lower income areas. I remember going to a beachfront condo where this mom and this lady and her husband were there, and they showed me, this is my kitchen. You see this ugly pink tile here? I'm like, yeah. She goes, the husband said, my wife picked that out. And they started crying. And they said, this was our kitchen. We had $1 million house here and it's gone. So what I learned then is a storm doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter what your economic situation is. It doesn't matter if you live in a trailer or $1 million or $2 million house. A storm doesn't discriminate. I went back to work, and I was still running Kodiak at the time. And I said, dude, you got to do something about this. You know, you need to make this a much bigger picture. So I got together with some friends of mine. I talked about it, and I said, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And, you know, one of them told me I was crazy. The other one told me, yeah, we'll help you. Yeah, whatever. But, and then I mapped out on a napkin, a logo, and I drew a logo with a shoe, and I put a halo around the head, and I called it, and I said, what about the name Souls for Souls? And that's how Souls for Souls started back in 2006 or 2007. And since then, it's an amazingly remarkable story. It's an amazing charity. It continues to thrive today. I left in 2012 due to some severe health issues where I had to really focus on Wayne. So Wayne had another discussion with Wayne in October 2011. I bought a house in Orlando, and I said, well, you know, dude, you need to slow down. You need to relax, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're done. Literally done. And I moved to Orlando. I resigned from the charity, turned it over to the board of directors. They hired a wonderful CEO, continues to thrive today, doing a great job with people all around the world. And I'm certainly very proud of founding that organization, but I'm really proud of what they've been able to scale it to today, which is great. So my founder story was Mrs. Bush. It was Souls for Souls. And then after that, the third founder story was I was sitting on the beach and finishing a book. I've written 10 books in my time, finishing a book, and somebody invited me to speak at a nonprofit conference in Tampa. So my girlfriend at the time is, hey, we were going to Tampa and check this out. So we went to Tampa, delivered a keynote speech there. And I learned really quickly that nonprofits needed money more than I ever thought they did, because we were well funded. We did about $70 million in revenue coming in a year at Souls for Souls. It was really a fast moving charity and really got a lot of traction. But I realized that the 350 people that I was speaking to had no money. When I would ask them what their marketing plan was, 101s when we were signing books, they really didn't have one. And I said to Courtney, I said, you know what, this may not be a niche that I may be able to sustain long term, because I really don't know how they're going to get funding, because everybody has a great heart, but they just didn't have the funds to suffice. So I was driving back in between Tampa and Orlando, where I lived at the time. There's a town called Lakeland, which is now one of the fastest growing cities in America. And I got a call from a guy in Haiti. And he said, Wayne, what are you doing? I said, I'm driving home. And how are you doing, John? He said, I'm doing great. And we went back and forth. He goes, I got a problem. I said, John, what's your problem? He goes, I need some shoes. We cannot get enough shoes down here to continue your operation. Your organization you founded is not helping us like they did. Can you help us out? I said, let me see what I can do. I'm not sure. I actually called one of the board of directors. Said, hey, can you help the guy out? And left him a message and talked to him a couple of days later, and they were going to help him out. I got home, I took a shower, and I got out of the shower, and I said, you know what? There's a business model that says if you pay a charity to collect gently worn, used, and new shoes, I can fund micro businesses around the world. So I created a company called Funds to Orgs, which is now the world's largest shoe drive fundraising company out there. And what we do, we have 4 pillars to the operation. We have people that collect gently worn, used, and new shoes, and we pay them to collect them. So we're not a charity. So we fund thousands and thousands upon charities a year to collect shoes. Then we move them to developing nations called microenterprise in what we're now relabeling in a new book that's coming out next week from me about the reuse economy. The reuse economy resells, repairs, and fixes those shoes in a huge way. And then we're able to support local employees. But the biggest thing we're doing in addition to all this is we're keeping these out of landfills. So Funds to Orgs was the origin behind where Sneakers for Good is today. So I would go to Haiti and I would sit on the street and I would sell shoes. Now, it's not like walking into a major department store and having all this glamour. This is sitting on the ground on a tarp selling shoes, one pair at a time, and hope they fit, and selling them for dollars on the pair. And I said, there's a huge business model here. And the business model is to give them a hand up versus a hand out. And then I learned really quickly the biggest thing that they need is athletic shoes. As I was talking to people, like, we can't get enough athletic shoes. We got all these sandals, we got all these women's shoes. Well, all this stuff, we need more sneakers. So I started a brand with our team called Sneakers for Good. Sneakers for Good does nothing but collect sneakers from running retailers, from marathons. We're like St. Jude's sustainability partners. So St. Jude's organization actually collects sneakers for us. And the cool thing about that is we are able to do the same thing there and pay their charity for the shoes, but give the people that are creating a business on the other end really what they need. So that's a long introduction to really 3 founders story that you asked about, Joe.
So, Joe, before I get your response to that question, sir, ladies and gentlemen, many more of you have joined us. Just to let you know, from Reebok to Repurpose, live has obviously started, but you've just joined us. The chat room is open. Please put your LinkedIn in so that people can say hello to you at another occasion as well. And also, just to let you know, we are taking questions for Wayne through the show. We have a gallery lady running it called Christy. She's a lovely lady, and she is going to pick a few of the questions, should we have time at the end, and we will ask you to unmute should we select your question. But we will let you know just before. Just to do that, because a few more of you have joined us. Joe and Wayne, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've got some new guests. Joe, back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Max. Well, thank you, Wayne. That was really interesting. But from what you said, it's obvious that sustainability, as well as providing an income for others to support themselves, truly matters to you. Tell me why the two go hand in hand.
Well, Joe, first of all, there's 2.5 billion pair of shoes sold in America today. 2.5 billion. That means every household is buying 7 to 8 pairs of shoes a year. Sneakers are 60% of that. And only 5% of those are reused or recycled. They're thrown into landfills. There's estimates, there's people out there that say 300 to 400 million pair of athletic shoes are thrown in the garbage every year. Well, we've proven that there's a model, we've proven there's a demand, and quite honestly, we can't get enough. Meaning these folks in developing nations want more sneakers. They want more product that they can use as their transportation because they don't have transportation. A good athletic shoe is a form of transportation. And it's amazing to see how they fix them, repair them, wash them, and really make them marketable in their local markets in a big way to help their families out.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, then. So you've adopted a business model where you're able to sustain a business that can last long after you are no longer its leader. How did you decide on this plan, and how does it create a legacy for those you help?
Well, Joe, there's a big world out there, and we're not even scratching the surface. I mean, I would love to say that one day that everybody that needed a pair of shoes to create a business would have it. Or, for example, that every cancer charity that's out there could cure cancer, then there wouldn't be any more cancer charities. Well, it's just a huge market that people can't get enough. And the reuse economy is phenomenal, whether it's textiles, whether it's shoes. And not only do they sell them, Joe, they actually stitch them up. They actually clean their soles, and they make a used pair of shoes look brand new, which is amazing. And the way they do this and how they do this in 24 different countries we work in is remarkable. So I would love to say that, okay, I'm 61, I could solve this problem by the time I'm 70. No way. What we need to do is continue to get more people to get engaged and do more about it and donate, whether it be clothing, whether it be shoes, whether it be whatever, to really make a difference in somebody's life to sustain their family and do well. We've had people, and in my book that's coming out next week, we talk about a lady in Haiti that interviewed with us, and with tears in her eyes, she says, Wayne, the 3 pair of shoes I sell a day keeps me from selling my body. It is unbelievable. And I'm really getting very active involved in human trafficking because it is just a sick, unbelievable problem out there. And I had a lady in from Kenya 3 weeks ago, and she sat with me. I said, Carrie, I just can't do enough. I said, I was just in a developing nation and I saw a lady that was 12 years old that was trafficked by her parents. I said, it just changed my life. And she goes, Wayne, the one thing you've done with micro business, she goes, don't beat yourself up. She goes, micro business has helped people not traffic, because what you've done with Sneakers for Good and Funds to Orgs and all the shoes you created business with around the world have helped people stay out of trafficking as well by creating an income for them. And after a few tears, after a few attaboys, it just really resonated. And so my passion is to, continue like we're doing 100 miles an hour, have a younger team of people come in and just continue doing this, because this problem is something that's evident, that's out there that we can solve by repurposing, reusing shoes versus keeping them out of landfills.
Wow, that's really good. But Wayne, you're obviously a very principled man.
Sure, Christy.
Also one who understands that you cannot give what you do not have. How do you feed the machine with the repurposed shoes and refurbishing elements needed by the micro businesses to sustain the development world economy need you have created?
Yeah, I mean, the gap is huge. I mean, this is a load of shoes here, for example, that came to Cambodia. These were all used shoes that have been cleaned by hand. These are all used shoes where they stitch up areas in the shoe that's broken. The heel counter is the first thing that goes out for a runner. A runner uses shoes maybe 300 miles. But what we've been able to do is create opportunities with these folks by teaching them how to clean them, teaching them how to market them in their local markets, and really turn an old product into new. Quite honestly, this is what rocks my world. Seeing these people's life change, seeing these people cleaning these shoes, it's amazing to me that they'll take 4 different colors of spray paint, they'll spray paint it, and the color matches exactly the color of the shoe. I would have to make 16 trips to Home Depot to get the color right before I got it right. But they are so resourceful with what they do. It's life changing. We ship by the container. They wait for the container days before it comes. They will wait in line before the container comes to get their one bag of shoes.
That's really good. It's incredible. The amount is incredible. But today, accountability and ethical practice is extremely important. What do you do to ensure the smallest of wastage or environmental impact in the reuse economy?
Well, we try to reuse everything. We actually send single shoes, and Joe, you and I know what a single shoe is, but all of our hundreds of thousands of listeners, hopefully that'll see this over the next couple of months, don't know what a single shoe is. This is a kid I met in Seattle, and I sent him some single shoes. And I met him in a store, and we just started talking. He told me he's an art student. I said, "What can you do with a single shoe?" He goes, "I don't know. Send me some single shoes, and I'll do it." This kid is now making purses out of single used and new athletic shoes by cutting them apart, spray painting them, and selling these now in local markets. At the same time, we sent a lot of stuff to Pakistan to repurpose, where they'll take them apart, they'll take the eyelets apart, they'll take the laces out, they'll take the uppers apart, they'll take the midsoles out. And Joe, this is a lot of shoe lingo that you and I know. Basically, for our listeners, it's parts of the shoes, but they reuse those in one way, shape, or form. So we do everything we can to really make sure this is happening. I'm getting associated with a company called Ocean Soul, which I brought this in to show you guys. This is a elephant that's made out of recycled flip-flops. Used flip-flops that are wore out, that people left on the beach, they're making art out of it.
Right, Wayne. We're creating this book from Reebok to Repurpose. What do you hope we can achieve together?
Joe, I think the big hope for me is, first of all, I'm honored to share the cover with you of this book. You're going to be 91 in a few weeks. I'm 61, and I just hope that we can inspire everybody. It doesn't mean the younger generation, the middles, the millennials, the older. I just hope that we can inspire everybody to do something. Just get off the couch like I did and make a difference in somebody's life. Maybe we inspire somebody to tell somebody they matter. When I came here this morning, I stopped and got coffee, and I opened the door for this lady, and I smiled at her, and she just looked at me like, "Are you crazy?" And who knows what's going through her day. So my point about the book, From Reebok to Repurpose, is I hope we can inspire people that if we can make a small change in what we do or what we buy or what we don't buy, the biggest problem with some of this is overconsumption. So maybe we don't buy as much stuff and we reuse more. This shirt I have on is a $200 shirt at retail. I paid $8 at a thrift store for it. Now I washed it twice, but it's a $150 shirt that I paid $8 for.
Right. Okay, Wayne. In the previous conversations we have had, and in the several interviews in my book series, How to Survive and Thrive, you've always come back with what you refer to as the golden rule. Please explain what that means to you and why it is the core of everything that you, your business, and employees do.
Yeah, so It's as simple as that. It's not a religious statement. It's in every different religion out there, but it's really something I think everybody should have at the tip of their tongue. Treat people like you want to be treated. That is so forgotten. All these world problems we're having, all these problems we're having in America, all these problems we have with families, divorce rates are up, etc. If we would treat people like we want to be treated, I believe we could cut and mitigate our issues millions of times. We wouldn't be talking about Iran. We wouldn't be talking about all this stuff that's going on around the world. We would be talking about life change and people loving on each other just by holding the door open, just by saying things kind to people, And one of the things that I do every day is I talk to my grandkids. I tell them I love them. Right now, we're reciting the 10 Commandments every morning when I talk to them. And we're talking about what can you do today to make a difference in somebody's life. And one of my grandkids this morning says, I'm going to hold the door open for somebody, Dupta, like you do. I'm like, good, do it, Jackson. So things like that, something so simple that we all could just be aware of and get out of our own minds and get off our damn phones and basically treat people like we want to be treated would be awesome.
Okay, before we go any further, gentlemen, we've got a few photographs going on in the background showing the beautiful stuff that Wayne does. Ladies and gentlemen, one or two more of you have joined us. Christy is in the gallery and in the chat. If you have a question that you would like to ask Wayne, of course, because it needs to be based on the topic that we're on, which of course is repurposing and the beauty of what he's doing, please get into the chat and Christy will be making sure that one or two of you hopefully get to speak at the end. Joe, sorry to interrupt you, sir. The flow was excellent. Let's continue because I know this next person is a mutual friend.
Yes. Okay, Wayne, here we have a mutual friend, Manny, founder of Samaritan's Feet, great organization. And this organization is a charity that has done many great things to ensure those who have no money have shoes. How do you compare to each other?
First of all, Manny is a rock star. I listen to every video he does, every public talk he does, every TED talk, whatever he does, I listen because he is just a burst of energy that you can read about. I mean, he is just amazing. I'm actually having a meeting with him next week when I'm in his town. But basically, I mean, Manny's story, Manny was a micro entrepreneur. Manny was selling water, if I recall, on the street, and he was able to shoot a basketball into a hoop because Manny's as tall as I am, 6'4", 6'5", or maybe even taller. But Manny was an entrepreneur in Kenya, I believe, and basically shot a basketball, and the winner that got a basketball into the hoop got a free pair of shoes. And it inspired him throughout his life with him and his wife, Tracy, to start Samaritan's Feet, which is an amazing organization that puts shoes on kids around the world that need it. And I'm telling you what, he is one of my top 5 motivational speakers I've ever met. I've spent some time with him. I'm actually spending some time with him next week, but I cannot say enough good things about Manny and the work they're doing. And they have my support 110%. So we complement each other in the sense that we're out there trying to create opportunities for people locally while impacting people globally.
Well, Wayne, yours is also an amazing organization. But what's next for you and those you help?
So what's next for me is we just need to do more. I mean, I'm getting older. I just had heart surgery, 4 weeks ago, and I'm recovering well from that. I got diagnosed with cancer 2015. And, every time life throws me a curveball, Joe, I go back and say, look, you matter. You can do anything with what you mind to it. Don't let the world get you down and, just keep on rocking and rolling. And as hard as it is, I want to continue doing that. But what I'm doing now is, really trying to develop future leaders in the organization that can continue this to perpetuity in some way, shape, or form. And inspiring people. I'm really pulling myself a little bit back from the business and working with more CEOs and more directors of companies and C-suite employees that, I barely have a high school diploma. I never went to college, nothing. But my goal is to work with people. So look, if you want to learn how to do it, and I went through the school of hard knocks, But, this is what I learned. This is what I did. And I surrounded myself with the great people. So it's my goal to really inspire people and teach people some of the fundamental things that I learned, maybe the hard way.
Well, okay, here we are, Wayne. As we draw this fireside chat to its conclusion, is there anything that you feel is important to add to the conversation we have had? And how can others get involved?
Yeah, I would say I'd circle back to what I said before, Joe, is do something. Let's don't look back and say, I wish I did. I wish I would have got off the couch. I got off the couch. I would challenge our people that 5% of what we buy is reused. We throw way too much stuff in the landfill. We need to quit buying some of this stuff and we need to reuse it. We need to think about, okay, if I'm a CEO of a company, if I'll go to a thrift store and buy a shirt for $8 or buy a pair of jeans for 10 and wash them and they're brand new, what's wrong with that? Now, the major brands don't like that because I'm not buying their product new, but Joe, it just goes back to thinking about what we're purchasing, reusing what we have, and really what can we do to make a difference in somebody's life every day and reduce, reuse, and recycle, in that order.
Wow. Now, Joe, I've got a feeling that Wayne has a question directly to you, sir.
Oh, really? Okay, then. Where?
Oh, no. Let me think about that. Well, Joe, I would ask you this. I mean, I'm going to see you in a couple months, but you're 91 next month. I'm 61. What would you tell me and tell hopefully hundreds of thousands of people that'll see this video over time we should really do in our life? I mean, give me a couple points you have or your bottom line statement, whatever, but you have lived a remarkable life. You are a legend. You are a role model. You're one of the best leaders I've ever been associated with. What advice would you give somebody like me, 30 years junior to you, to end my life well?
End your life well. You should have fun. Always have fun. That's the most important thing in life. Be happy. Yes, if you're having fun, if you're helping other people, so help people you can. But it's just keep going. People say to me, Joe, why are you doing this at your age? And all I can say is nobody told me to stop. So I just keep going. And to anybody, if you've got a mission on whatever it is, you can never finish it, but just keep going and let somebody else take it on later. But as long as you can do it, just do it.
Great.
Wow.
Well, that's one of our competitors. Just do it.
Yes, that's what they say.
That's awesome.
That's right.
Just do it.
Wow.
That's great advice. I'm glad you brought that up and not me, but that's awesome, Joe. Thank you for that. Just do it.
Pleasure. It's a pleasure. Have fun and get on with it. Keep doing what you can do.
Well,
thank you, sir, for those words.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together. We're going to take a screenshot in just a moment. I'm just going to say to the gallery, so Christy and Stephen, just need to get a few waves. I'm looking at the main screen, but you guys are all there. Please put your videos on. We're going to go for a wave. Don't move your hand, just a static hand. And please, let's all give a big round of applause and a great smile to everybody for a screenshot. We're going to hold it for one more second in case we're doing different rooms. Excellent. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for that. What a wonderful piece of information and what a wonderful model Wayne is doing with the heart and soul, the man who walks his talk, and of course always follows the golden rule. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is a lady today who's joined us. Her name is Christy. She's in the gallery, and throughout this, any of you who've asked questions, she will have been making notes. Now, I was rather hoping I'd see a few notes back, but she's been very, very busy, to be quite fair. And she may come back to me in a moment. But what we do have is we have a lady on the south coast of England who built two amazing technology businesses, really is a stalwart in a slightly different way. She's involved in what the world means with adoption. It's an equal topic, and her name is Susie, and Susie is about to ask a question. So Christy, please unmute Susie, and Susie, your question please to Wayne.
Hi Wayne, So good to hear your story. I love how it started with a napkin, and I just, yeah, I'm very, very inspired. Um, so I am an adoptive parent. I'm the founder of Walk Together Adoption, and my whole life is adoption. I'm an adoptee, single adoptive parent, and I'm doing a PhD to help and support other single adoptive parents, because in the UK there is no support, there's systemic failure. So I founded Walk Together Adoption to basically provide resources, areas of support, people to contact, events, things like that. But I love how you talked about, the sustainability of something long after we've gone. And so this is what I'm trying to work out. How do I take something built on lived experience and genuine passionate purpose that has not been about profit, and make it structurally sustainable, scalable, something that serves these families long after I'm gone? Um, all over, really. I do interviews all over the world with adoptive parents because it seems this systemic failure is a global challenge, and the families we support can't afford to stay small, and I can't bear what the landscape looks like.
Well, first of all, Susie, thanks for your great question. That is a mouthful of a question, and I have a I have a couple thoughts there. Um, just one side note: one of the pillars we have with our fundraising companies, we work a lot with people that are adopting kids, and they
Huh?
raise money by collecting shoes, which is kind of cool. And
Yeah.
I bring that up to you to tell you that may be an option as well to help be a fundraiser, because I can connect you with people in that part of the world that basically may be interested in taking your shoes and moving them to developing nations. But we do a big job with people that adopt, and some people make $30,000-$40,000 a year to adopted kids and that kind of stuff. So hats off to you for your work with that. I would say, there's not one magic answer. There's many pillars. It's very just like in marketing. It's called omni-channel marketing, where you hit everything from all avenues. And I would say that, look at corporate sponsors, look at give back programs in stores. Maybe people would round up, for you. I would say get an army, a church, just get as many people as you can in all different segments to buy into what you do. And certainly we can have an offline conversation. We could schedule a call in a couple of weeks about that and kind of share with you some ideas maybe about that as well. But I would say there's not one golden rule, if you will, for the answer to this. It's multiple omni-channel type strategies that could really make it big for you. The best testimonials you can get are the people that adopted a kid and the kid that got adopted and the life change that they had. So if you tell those stories, those stories are just amazing, and people want to gravitate to that.
Thank you so much, Wayne. And I'd love to have an offline conversation. That would be an absolute privilege.
Okay,
Well,
Susie. Sorry.
it will happen. It will happen, Susie. Just reach out to Christy and we will make that happen.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your kind words.
Okay, Susie, thank you very much for your question. It's always good to have somebody in. We haven't had that many questions. We have a little bit of time today. So if you do have a question, please message Christy. But here's the thing. This young lady has worked for Wayne for 8 years, a stalwart, and believes in everything and all the principles that Wayne has talked about. And I think it's only fair, because there's a question come in. So as you've done such a wonderful job today, Christy, I'm going to get you to ask the next question.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for letting me join your fireside chat, and thank you to Joe, Max, and Stephen for having me here, and obviously to our visionary leader, Wayne. I was sitting behind the camera this whole time, but I've been the one that's been answering all of your chats. So thank you, Liza, for asking our next question. Liza, would you like me to go ahead and read that question for you, or would you like me to unmute you? Happy to read it for you. Yes? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and read Liza's question. Liza said, we need to get everyone to think about make do and mend and reuse rather than buying new. What is the best way to make individuals in the Western world move from permanently seeking growth and new stuff to becoming politically correct and turning their skills into repurposing and bringing back the mend and shop and repair?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is awareness. I have a book coming out next week called The Reuse Economy. It'll be live on Amazon. The website will be live next week as well. And it's really one of the first attempts to kind of really bring this to fruition in writing. There's plenty of conferences. We're actually going to a conference next week in Charlotte about this, about reusing versus purchasing. But I would say the biggest thing that needs to happen is just awareness, awareness, awareness. And none of us are too good to buy an $8 shirt from a thrift store. None of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I get more satisfaction on that than I would be going to the brand and buying it. And the challenge of the clothing industry, for example, is the materials that some of the stuff that's coming in is being made. It's not the original cotton. It's not the original Levi material, et cetera, that we're all used to. It's a lot of polyester and it's a lot of plastics. Well, that is what is really causing the problem. If you go to a developing nation and look in some of these markets, the stuff that's not selling is the stuff that's made like that. They want the authentic brands. They want the authentic cotton. They want the authentic quality that we have. So long answer to your question is just awareness, awareness, awareness. There's several people along with myself that are really making this a strong effort around the world. There's a gentleman in the UK, it's called Beyond Retro, Stephen Bethel, that's doing a fabulous job in the UK, really talking about reuse before recycle as well.
Well, Wayne, thank you very much. And Christy as well. Now, Christy's going to get busy, hopefully, in the next few minutes with you asking some questions. Obviously, we can't take them all, but I've got a couple. I've noticed in the background, Wayne, I know you put a few things out there for us to see. You've seen the elephant, and we've also seen your recycle box. Is that box what you put into various collection sites?
Yeah, so great question, Max. Yeah, this box here is carbon fiber. It's almost indestructible because of the way it's made. It packs really conveniently. It's really in a eco-friendly shipping size, but it just clips together. And this is what goes into major retail running stores as well as specialty stores that we have. This also goes at like Boston Marathon we were at last week. You know, we are the sustainability partner for Boston Marathon as well as St. Jude and probably 15 to 20 other more. But this was up there all around with our team really communicating our brand. And, you know, it's a nice presentation.
It's impactful.
It's impactful, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, talking about impactful then, I like to be observant, and I think other people may have been observant. In the background behind Christy.
The background. Right.
Yeah, in the background behind Christy, to your, I believe your right, sir, is a massive shoe. And the thing I'm going to ask you is, I'm going to bring Joe Foster back in. So if the gallery could unmute Joe again, please. Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Now, Joe, there's a massive shoe. First of all, I want to find out from Wayne what that is and why it's there. And then secondly, I'd like you to just tell the audience a little bit about the biggest shoe you ever made and who it was for.
Well, this shoe here, this is a very special shoe to me. A gentleman by the name of Warren, his assistant's actually on here that's in China, passed away 6 months ago. And he was an amazing sourcing guy for me. He made a lot of my product throughout the years and just a great guy. And I called him one day and I said, Warren, I want to get a life-size shoe for the trade shows. He goes, no problem, I got it. So he made this life-size shoe for me before he passed away. And I'm really glad you noticed that because I really want to give him kudos because Joe knows what it takes to have great relationships in China and in manufacturing. And Warren was one of the guys that, you know, did the golden rule and I could shake his hand, the deal was done. But Warren made this to me. And the biggest shoe I ever made was probably a size 24 work boot, which is huge. And I actually got to meet the guy in Wisconsin that needed it. He lived way up in the north, and it was funny because I believe the restaurant was called Lumberjack, because I made him for him for free. And this goes back 30 years ago. He goes, I'll meet you at the Lumberjack restaurant. When you go to the Lumberjack restaurant, there's a big lumberjack guy out there that's like 30 feet tall. And, this guy's bigger than me and I'm 6'5". And it's like, oh my God. So the biggest shoe I ever made was a size 24. It was a custom made work boot. And I gave it to him for free just to meet him and take pictures. And I guess to say I did it because I never thought I'd be asked that question, but I finally been asked the question. So
Joe, let's bring you back in, because you also had to make, I think, probably the world's biggest sports shoe, didn't you? Who was it for and how did it happen?
Yes, well, we talk about basketball because that's where the big guys are. And our guy, which is Shaquille O'Neal, of course, a lot of companies were chasing him. But our biggest competitor finished making his biggest shoe he would make was size 20, whereas Shaq is size 22. And so we had to make size 22, and that convinced him that Reebok was really the shoe for him and the company that he would go on. He's still part of the company today, working very hard to bring Reebok back into the forefront of basketball. So Shaquille O'Neal, size 22, he is 7'2" tall, and I've yet still to meet him. Can you believe?
wow, that's awesome, Joe.
Well, Wayne and Joe, we talked about big shoes, but now some of you have started to put some questions in, and it's only fair. I want to bring Christy back in. And Christy, you've got somebody else who's asked a question, so I'm going to hand it back to you because you did such a great job with the last one. Over to you.
Thank you, Max. I have another question today from Arokia. I hope I pronounced that correctly. She asked, what was the change you wanted to see in the world through your sustainable product or process?
I would just say more reuse. I mean, if we can not buy and we can reuse, that is a solution, a big part of the solution. Because, 300 to 400 million pairs of shoes are being thrown away in the landfill every year. How many pieces of clothing? The clothing business is 20 times larger. So how many pieces of clothing are thrown away in landfills versus reusing them around the world or locally? Does that answer your question, Okia?
Yeah, I was just a bit curious because there are a lot of products that are being wasted every day. But why did you choose, shoes?
Again, it's all I've ever done. I know nothing else. I'm a marketing guy and I'm a shoe guy. I literally started my first job when I was 15 in a stockroom selling shoes. I've done nothing else. I know nothing else other than shoes. So it's kind of like in my DNA. I probably have more pair of shoes than Imelda Marcos, because people send them to me all the time. I wore a size 14. So all my buddies in the shoe business always send me shoes. But guess what? I reuse them. And I put them in somebody else's hand in developing nations to help their business. Because size 14 in Africa is in huge demand. Size 14 in Guatemala, don't even send them, because there's not those kind of big feet down there. So the answer to the shoe thing, it's all I know. I know nothing else other than the shoe business.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, there looks like there might be a question for Joe. So I'm going to hand back again to Christy because she's doing a great job. So Christy, perhaps you would either like to bring that person in or ask the question yourself based on what's been asked.
Hi, Joe. Okay, I have a question from Janae, who's joining us from Fresno, California. And
Okay.
she said, as a for-profit textile collector who also supports nonprofits through a textile recycling program, quite similar to Sneakers for Good, I think I'm pointing to it. I'm curious, does Reebok have a strategy for recycling apparel other than shoes?
Well, they've had many ideas. They made a shoe out of vegetation, which they said when you've done it, you just bury it, and something else will grow. So they've had different various ideas. and they do a lot of work with these sweatshops in sort of the Far East, and that they try to make sure that they're good and that they get fairly well paid. So they do a lot of good things. What today's new ideas are, I don't know, but we're with Reebok next week. I'll put that question to them and see what they say.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody there. Now, are there any other questions, Christy? Because I tell you what, there's Stephen, of course, on our side, has asked a question which was sort of asked already, but I think I'd like to bring Stephen in because Stephen has put this together with us, and he likes to share wisdom around the world, and you're sharing the gift of shoes. And Stephen, if you'd like to just come back on with us and say hello to both of the guys, and tell us about, or rather ask your question regarding what we can all do together at One Golden Nugget to help Wayne and Joe from Reebok to Repurpose.
Hello, Max. Thank you. Hello, Joe. Lovely to see you.
See you, Stephen.
I'm always humbled by the people we attract as a business. We create these books and we share wisdom, and we attract the world's givers, the empaths and the caring, loving people, and you're certainly one of those, Wayne. My actual question, because Kirsty answered it in the chat, but my other question was about what's your one golden nugget for building a team? Because everybody I speak to about you, they've always got such warm things to say about you. So, for anybody building and scaling a business, which is part of what you teach, it's teams everything. And what's your nugget for building a great team?
Well, I would say the biggest thing I've done is I've had to hire people a lot smarter than me. Because again, I barely made it through high school, but I have the best team, and literally every day when I come in, no matter how I feel, what I went through the day before, if I got a good night's sleep or not, I go desk to desk to desk and say hello to everybody. And my golden nugget would be slow down, take that time, and make that difference. Because me sitting eye to eye to Steve or to Rob or to Mac or Joe, Billy, whoever, and just ask, hey, how's your family? Or, hey, why were your calls so off yesterday? What's going on? Is your phone broken? Or whatever. But having that one-on-one interaction, I wrote about this in 2010 in my book called Almost Isn't Good Enough. And it's all about the human connection. The human connection makes a difference. The human connection today is forgotten with AI, or when you call Bank of America, or you call, whatever. The human connection is the biggest takeaway I would tell somebody as a golden nugget to summarize us. Make a difference by slowing down and having that one-on-one, eye time with them, because that matters.
Yeah, thanks, man. You're an inspiration, and so grateful to be doing this new book with you, from Reebok to Repurpose. It's going to be an amazing adventure. Thank you.
Can I just
I'm excited.
Sorry, can I just bring Joe in on that one? Joe, because we've got so many people who perhaps have never heard you speak before, sir, and we have the founder of Reebok with us, an icon of brand. Can I ask the same question to you so that we give the benefit of both your and Wayne's wisdom on that question? How did you build a team, sir? What mattered to you?
Well, like Wayne said, try to employ people who can do something better than you can do it. That's always good. And listen to people. Just listen. And the people that wanted to work for Reebok. We didn't advertise. Really, I think the only jobs we ever advertised was something like accountancy. But people who wanted to be part of our team, they really wanted to work for the company. And because they were so, and we were lucky because we're a visible company. And we make a product which is very visible and which is looking for winning. And these people wanted to win. And yes, but listen to them. Always listen to the people who work for you and understand their families and what problems they may have if you can help them. We had one guy who we just had to send him to a psychiatrist because he developed something. He had to wash his hands every time he was working with a machine, and he couldn't touch his machine. He got so frightened. So we sent him to a psychiatrist. They cured him, and he still phones me even today.
Well, Joe, thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, so far we've had an absolute masterclass from two people. The shoemaker himself, Joe, of course, Joe Foster, and he has a wonderful book which has actually become basically part of a course for many MBAs around the world. And Joe travels to universities based on the text that's in his book, The Shoemaker, and it really is a good read. So please have a look at that. Obviously, Wayne has mentioned many books that he's done, so I'm fairly sure you're going to find an awful lot in those as well. Gentlemen, we can find the founder of Reebok, Joe Foster, of course, and you can always contact One Golden Nugget. But before we go, and because I don't think we've got any more questions, I'm just going to check. Christy, are we clear of questions now?
We have actually one more question from Susie James.
Okay, Wayne, are you prepared to take this?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's have Susie James back on the screen.
Hi, Wayne. It was just a quick question, which was, is the brand itself, Sneakers for Good, invisible once the trainers have been repurposed and shipped overseas or wherever they go?
So Sneakers for Good is our frontline brand to work with St. Jude, for example, Boston Marathon, run retailers, specialty stores, and stuff like that. The people on the ground don't know Sneakers for Good, but what they do know, they know the brands in the bags better than you and I know brands, because they all want to aspire to have the best. And
Yeah.
with social media today, I get people all the time calling me saying, "Hey, can I get the shoe with the cat on it?" Well, that means Puma, or whatever. So they don't know Sneakers for Good. No, they don't, but they know the brands are in the bag that they're expecting, and they're waiting in lines for hours and sometimes overnight to get that bag of shoes to go sell in their market to feed their family.
Thanks.
Thank you very much to both of you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've sort of come to the top of the hour. And sometimes, as Wayne tells me so many times, sometimes less is more. And Steve tells me the same as well. But ladies and gentlemen, before we go, it's never good to leave a show like this without, first of all, finding out how we can contact you, Wayne, how people can get, again, involved. Where do they go if they want to be part of what you're doing or get involved or speak to you in the future? Where do they go to do that?
Yeah, I would say just go to WayneElsey.com. It's WayneElsey.com. I'm very present on LinkedIn as well. I probably have 50,000 acquaintances on LinkedIn, so we're always active on that. Or just email me directly, and myself or Christy will get back with you.
Lovely. And thank you very much. Can I just say a big round of applause also to Christy today, who's helped me out in the gallery. Thank you so much for your help all the way over there in Florida. What an international show this has been. And just to conclude, on behalf of One Golden Nugget, we are privileged to have people like you, Wayne, on our show and be party to what we do. So, ladies and gentlemen, can I just say thank you to wherever you are in the world for joining us today. And until next time, please put your hands together one last time. We'll see if we get one more screenshot with those of you who are around. That's over to the team. Let's just say thank you very much. And Wayne, good luck for the future, sir. Stick to the golden rule. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everybody. Thank you.